Hey people of Earth, this is Jim from Small Time Outlaws again, and welcome to the fifth video in my tutorial series on beginning game programming in Monkey. In this video we're going to be covering conditional statements such as if and select, and which is going to allow us to, allow our programs to make decisions and the users to suffer the consequences of those decisions. So let's get in Monkey. If you got the code from last time, go ahead and get rid of all of it. See you later. Okay, starting fresh. To start with the if statements in Monkey, you use the if keyword. Let's see, first let's set up a little variable to play with. We'll call it a and give it an initial value of 5. And so basically how the conditional statements work is you're checking if a certain expression is true, then you're going to perform the action following that if statement. So in this case, we'll say if a equals 5, and in Monkey, that's the comparison operator for equal to. And in a lot of languages these days, they use a double equal to kind of distinguish between the assignment and the comparison operator, but in Monkey it knows the difference, so you can just that's the one you use. And so we'll say if a equals 5, and then down in the next line we're going to print it is 5, and we're going to close off that if block. And let's run it real fast so you can see it work. It says it is 5 because in fact a equals 5. Imagine that. So now let's say what happens if we change 5 to, or excuse me, let's see what happens if we change a to 2 and run it. Nothing, because a, in fact, okay, I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, a does not equal 2. So now we want to check, well, what if I want to check if a does not equal 5? I want to print something. So let's use the comparison operator in Monkey for not equals. That is the less than and greater than symbols mashed together, so it's kind of like it's neither here nor there. This is another one of those things that comes from basic programming languages. So a is neither here nor there, so you can say it is not 5. Let's just build it. See, it's not 5. And so if you wanted to check if, let's say you want to check if a is greater than 5, you can just use the greater than symbol, or you can say greater than equal to 5. For that, you can say less than 5, less than or equal to 5. Those all work. Instead of comparing two variables together, or a variable to a value, one thing you can do is you can use the Boolean Operator. So let's create our little verdict variable from before. Actually, no, let's call it guilty. It makes a little more sense for what we're doing. So we'll say if guilty, and we'll start off with true. So guilty by default. So when you're using a guilty, or excuse me, when you're using a Boolean variable in a condition, all you need is just the variable. You don't have to say if guilty equals true, because the Boolean variable by itself is a conditional expression. So I'll say if guilty, in this case it's true, I'm going to say, well, guess what? I am guilty. So let's run that so you can see it. Well, I'm guilty. So now let's say, well, what if we want to check if he's not guilty? Well, in Monkey, there's the Boolean operator not. And it's just like, you just read it just like in English. Well, just like in broken English. It's if not guilty, then we're going to do this. I'm not guilty. Run it. Come on. Wait. What did I do wrong? Oh, wait. Alright. Helps if he's actually not guilty. So, check. See if he's not guilty. Well, not guilty. Okay, so now you're probably thinking, well, what if I want to check? What if I want to do something if this person's guilty, and do something else if he's not guilty? Let's say I want to throw him in jail if he's guilty and release him if he's not guilty. So let's check if guilty, I don't know, we'll leave that as not. If not guilty, scream, I'm not guilty. Otherwise, or else, print, I am guilty. Here you'll notice that the else shares the if block, so this else doesn't need its own end. It shares the end with the whole if block. Okay, so now let's say you want to do something for more than 2 outcomes. Well, then that's something you can do rather easily. So, well, you can't do it with the Boolean because there's only 2 possible outcomes, true or false. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our a variable. We're going to say if a equals 1, and we'll say I am 1. And now introduce you to a new statement, else if. What else if allows you to do is check another condition. Now you don't have to use a. You don't have to use a in this next condition. You can do like a if, else if guilty, or any other expression. This just checks another expression if this one is not true. If this is true, it's going to do this, and then it's going to skip out of the end if block and continue with the code. So, but in our case, we're going to check if it's 1, not go on to the next one, check if it's 2. And we'll print I am 2. And anything else, it's going to print I am not 1 or 2. Or if you want proper English, I'm not, well, if you want actual proper English, there we go. I am neither 1 nor 2. Okay, and one thing you can do, you can have as many else if statements as you want. So you can say else if 3. I want to print I am 3. And you can just keep going with else ifs all day long. You can only have one else. You get as many else ifs as you want. Okay? And I'm not going to run it. I think you get the idea. So alternatively, if you don't want to be typing out all these else ifs, a equals this, if you know you're only going to have the one, be checking the one variable, the one expression, you can use in Monkey something called the select statement. So what you'll be doing is just be selecting one expression, or one variable, or one value that's going to be consistent throughout all the conditional checks, and then you do a case statement for each possible case. So for what we're doing for our purposes here, we're checking 1, 2, and anything else. So case 1, and what this is going to do is going to execute any code you type below or after the case statement, or in this case below. That's how Monkey works. And so I can show you, I can say I am 1, and then you can do something else down here. You can say a plus equals 1, or 2, excuse me, if you want to increment it, then check the next case. And the way case statements work, it's just like the else if, or the if and else if. Once it hits this case 1, it's going to pop out and continue with the code. I'm going to close it off real fast. So if it's 2, print I am 2, and instead of else, the keyword for the select statements is default. So anything else is going to print the default. I am neither 1 nor 2. Not 2. That was my Frenchanese accent. Okay. Okay, and I think that's it for if and select statements. I can run this if you want. Why not? Let's run it. So you can see it's going to say, hello, I am 2. That's the case. The case was 2. Case closed. So once again, I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions about anything we've covered so far, or if you have questions about programming in general, shoot me an email at jim@smalltimeoutlaws.com, or lay some comments on me. Alright, see you in the next one.